So hello and welcome to Cinema Chat. Cinema Chat is the podcast where we talk about the movies and the people that made them. And I am in here of all places, a Walmart parking lot with my good friend Jeff Studler. Hello, Jeff.
Hi.
So Jeff, you went to the Groucho University, graduated 2002, right? Something
Holy
like that.
cow. I think it was actually called Bedge University. Yeah, I was an insomniac like Groucho. And no, not really. But yeah, we can say a lot about the Marx Brothers nonetheless.
Yeah, we are neither one of us learned people when it comes to the Marx Brothers, but we are very exuberant in our favor for the Marx Brothers and how we both truly cherish all the different aspects of what they brought to the medium of entertainment. And I want to first talk about the characters and the people that were involved with the Marx Brothers. And one of the characters, of course, is the firstborn was Chico. And interestingly enough, there's one debate that people could have is, how do you even pronounce Chico's name? They originally came up with the name Chico because of the fact that he chased the chicks. Mm-hmm. And
not literal chickens, but
right.
But women.
He chased the chicks,
hence
and so they called him Chico.
Hence the name when you call a woman a chick, which sometimes people see that as a slur, non-chauvinistic or chauvinistic slur, I guess you would say.
But they spelled his name like Chico.
Yeah,
and
so you would think he's Hispanic or something. But
yeah, they were playing with us.
Yeah,
they were playing with us, and now almost 100 years later, we're still talking about what is his real name. And I know that
it's Leonard.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, there you go.
He was the oldest Marx brother, I think. No, besides Gummo. But anyway.
And the second oldest is Harpo. And
really?
Harpo was born right after Chico. And Harpo was born 1888, and Chico was born 1887.
Harpo's real name was? His real name before he changed it to Arthur was?
Oh, I didn't.
Adolf.
Oh, that's right.
And he didn't.
That's right.
He didn't want to be associated with Adolf Hitler because during the rise of the whatever you want to call it, the Nazis or whatever. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? I actually knew that, and I had totally forgot. You dumbfounded me for a second, but Harpo, of course, is just a crazy clown type clownish character.
Perfect. And mime, everything, yeah.
Well, in Harpo, on the stage and on the screen, he bounced, or Chico would bounce off of Harpo so well, and the other way around.
I love their act together was great, playing on words with just whistles and hand gestures to describe words. Like he was the first real I don't know how long sign language had been in, but this was comedic sign language at its best. He would describe a snake, or a shape of a Coke bottle, and he would say, "Oh, a woman." I love how they bounce off of that, and they were putting wordplay together to explain something that's going on in the movie. Yeah. Anyway, he's one of my favorites, but they're all in their own right my favorites.
And as you may have surmised, I don't even know if I even said at the beginning of the show that we're going to talk about the Marx Brothers.
Oh, who are they?
Yeah.
No. We're not talking about Karl Marx either.
No.
He's a long lost cousin of his.
No, we're not. We're not going to go too much into that. But yeah, we've got enough Marxists to talk about. And well, then came Groucho at 1890, and Groucho, of course, in some circles, is the most celebrated of the brothers.
But I hardly agree with that.
I don't think that he can do what. I don't think he was able to do what he did without having the silliness of the other two.
You can't. No, it's like they're the Holy Trinity. Well, until or after maybe whenever Zeppo left. But so yeah, they're all wheels within a wheel in a machine of comedy that was classic and at its best. That's the best way I can word those four guys together. But then when you separate Zeppo from the three main, yeah.
Zeppo was almost the needle that would go in to keep everything threaded together, if you think about it like that.
That's kind of a good way, a very good tapestry, yes, of comedy.
And then we had Gummo, who never actually performed in any of their films.
Only in
he
the
was born
vaudeville, yeah.
Yeah, he performed in vaudeville. His heart was not in it.
Then
at
Four
all.
Nightingales was the name of the group that they sang.
Yes, that's right.
And they sang in a Catholic church as Jewish boys singing Ave Maria. That's very interesting. Now we probably should tell people this is not stuff we just pull out of the air. This is stuff you can reference from any kind of interview or book or any kind of media out there that talks and describes at best the Marx Brothers. So this is not just made up stuff here.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't want to be sued. We're just telling you it's the truth.
Yeah, Gummo was never really happy being one of the stage. Never happy being one of the brothers. He loved his brothers. I have the feeling, but I don't get the feeling that he ever really wanted to perform.
From what you understand, he was the funniest of them all, and that's what I took. That they could admittedly say that he was funny, but they needed a straight man. By the way, going back to Gummo, we have to say why he didn't stay in the act, because he went off to fight in World War I.
Yes, he did. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And he went on to become an agent, a very successful talent agent, and no doubt his name
he
probably
helped the brothers.
Yeah, he did help the brothers, and so Gummo really wasn't somebody that you're gonna know just by watching only the films, but Gummo was a part of. What happened was when Zeppo got old enough, he was born in 1901. Zeppo was born far later than the older brothers, and once he got on the stage and was able to do the types of things that Gummo would do, well, then they felt Gummo was able to. We were able to use Zeppo with that, and of course all of the things that we see from the Marx Brothers and all the wonderful movies that we had and we still can watch and we cherish, all of that stuff, we don't have it without Minnie Marx, the mother.
Yeah,
Yeah, what do you know about her?
All I know is that she really was the backbone of the boys, trying to really force them into the act. And we got to remember that Gallagher and Sheen were their cousins.
Right.
So it was a family thing. It was in the bloodline of the family to be in all this, what you want to call it, vaudeville, whatever, in the early days of stage and cinema and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But their mother was a backbone. She was their manager at one time.
Yeah.
That's why then when she passed away, Zeppo really pretty much took up the reins of the management of the group. But yeah, I guess in every family you got to have a strong mother and a strong father, and the mom was really the push. And I think for more, and I could be wrong, but I would like for somebody even maybe out there who's listening confirm this, that I think that's where they coined the phrase break a leg. It might be in one of the books.
Oh, wow.
Because she was doing something, if I remember right, she was hanging something or something before one of their acts, and she fell and broke her leg, and I think that's where that term break a leg came into play when it comes to, before you go on to an act, break a leg. Yeah, I think it's either in the Groucho's autobiography, Hello, I Must Be Going, or something. We could reference that some other time.
Yeah, we'll find that.
If anybody out there is a big fan, please confirm that if you will.
Yes, please do that. I never knew that.
Yep.
Some things you don't know where the origin was, and you're like, what? Now, it's important to note that for people that are casual Marx Brothers fans, first of all, if you're a casual fan, I want to know, how can you be a casual fan? Because I'm not sure how you don't just dive into it and really love it. But
yeah, right. It'll be like something Groucho would say, maybe like you'd be like being a casual lover or something. You can, you got to either love or hate the Marx Brothers, and I've never ever not loved these guys.
Yeah.
And all of who they are, it's to me, I hope God's up there, enjoying their act still today. Anyway, because I'm sure he would, because God's got a sense of humor. Anyway, we'll move on. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, yeah, and so it's important to note though that they didn't just have films. So if you are just a casual fan, or if you've barely heard of them, or if you're a younger person that maybe hasn't been exposed to the Marx Brothers, definitely watch the movies, and we'll detail a few of them here in a bit. But what I would say is that they were actually vaudeville. They were actually a vaudeville act.
They started out
They were on the
that way,
stage, and they didn't. And when they started making their movies, they really were doing their stage act in the first couple of movies, and we'll
Yes.
talk about those here.
Well, they
in just a
actually
minute.
did one called Humor Risk, which was a silent movie, and they said they could never find it. They
Oh
lost-
yes, that's
you remember
right.
Humor- And I never saw it. I've only heard of it referenced by Groucho and some of the others.
And I don't know how Groucho could survive in a silent movie, but
Well, he couldn't. That's why they had to have. They invented talkies.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably what he would say. I needed to say something. That's why they invented talkies. Okay.
So let's. What we'll do here is we'll dive into the movies of the Marx Brothers, and we'll talk about.
Did we cover all the brothers though? Because I don't. Did we went down the list pretty fast?
Well, let's actually cover one more brother. We're gonna cover Margaret Dumont.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forgot.
She
Yeah.
was the fifth
Let's
Marx
just
brother.
yeah,
That's
even,
what-
yes, we got to cover Margaret
said
Dumont.
Groucho, yeah.
You know, it doesn't do. If you've only seen one or two Marx Brothers movies, and you don't know you probably don't know who Margaret Dumont is, but she's the tall lady that Groucho always offends, but also is flirting with. So
Yeah.
the amazing thing how Groucho was able to insult her and insult her looks, but then try to romance her at the same time.
God, that makes me think of all the different lines he would throw at her. One of my favorite lines with her is that he goes, "Let's get married." She goes, "Marriage? Yes. I can see you now bending over hot stove.
Yes.
But I can't see the stove."
Yes.
I mean, what?
Well,
Wow.
and I think one of the wonderful things
Take it.
about Groucho Marx is that when he was receiving a Lifetime Academy Award, I don't know if you knew this, but he thanked Margaret Dumont and said, he called her one of the fifth Marx brother, and he was very gracious, but at the same time he still insulted her, said she never got our jokes.
Yeah, that's true.
He was still doing the bit.
Yeah, at the end of the take, he had to stop and explain to her because she sometimes didn't
Why this is
understand the joke,
funny.
and he would
Yes.
explain it to her. Yeah,
But it wouldn't have been as funny had
she did get it.
If she did get it, you know.
because you could see it in
She
her
played
face.
it
Sometimes
straight,
you're like,
yeah.
she's like, huh? But that's the good thing about comedy is that you could be dumb in comedy, still come off like it's working, you know. So, you know, I think comedy doesn't have a lot of rules. If it did, then it wouldn't be comedy. You know,
True.
in that sense, because I think that's what made it so funny. Because that woman really didn't get the stuff. She's like a brunette blonde, right? She just didn't get it sometimes, and so that's good.
It's really, yes. She really truly was an integral part of their films, and now she wasn't in all of them, but she was a real true part of what they were doing. And what the Marx Brothers really did was defy convention and make people that were in the movie, make the characters in the movie uncomfortable. And
They were unconventional.
yes, they would come at you with from three different directions.
Oh man!
And you don't know what, if you're going to get fast talking Chico, or are you going to get smart mouth Groucho, or are you going to get Harpo coming at
trick on you, yeah. Grabbing your leg. I always
grabbing your leg, honking his horn.
Yeah. One thing I love about Harpo is that he could say so much with just what he did physically. And I've even in my personal life, those guys have become such a part of me in a way that sometimes I'll say things that are from the Marx Brothers, or I'll do something. Sometimes I would try to grab somebody's leg just like Harpo, and they're like,
they don't know what you're doing.
But somebody with a trained eye probably does,
Yes.
But that's what makes life fun is that maybe they don't know what you're doing, but I do, and it looks funny or stupid, but it makes people laugh or breaks the ice or whatever, So.
Well, there's two reasons why I do this show in general, and one is so people that really enjoy the movie that I'm talking about can think about it in fond memories, and maybe they'll enjoy it. But the other reason why I do it is because I really want people that haven't been exposed to the Marx Brothers or to other acts that I've talked about on the show. But the Marx Brothers, though, I really would like a few people to get a chance to actually explore the Marx Brothers.
They just get a good vaccination.
When I'm trying to remember, did I actually introduce you to the Marx Brothers, or was that, or?
No, I have to contribute this to my mom, I grew up, my mom was a baby boomer, and she she's a big Sinatra fan. Turner Classic Movies or any of those TV shows would always be on a Saturday or Sunday morning. So I'm getting up, I'm seeing Jerry Lewis movies, I'm seeing Marx Brothers movies, I'm seeing Frank Sinatra stuff going on. So I was raised on that kind of stuff, which to me is okay. I'm also a big Star Wars and Marvel fan, but the bedrock of my childhood in some respects was contributed to my mother growing up appreciating this stuff. I don't like what's his name? I mentioned his name. Anyway, the chairman of the board,
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't like him technically, but he was in a movie with Groucho. But they all have their place, and I could just say I appreciate the finer things of the silver screen. Let's put it that way. That's what they call that, right? Is that the silver screen age? And so. And we really can't be America and Americans without some of that stuff. That's kind of part of the fabric of our society. And for people in our generation or younger than us, I think they really need to also adopt some of this stuff because it makes you understand what America is about. America is a very humorous country. We have a great sense of humor. The Brits also, they have their greats. But I just think, thank God for the Marx Brothers. They're from here. They're part of us, part of this culture, part of this country. And
they really truly are. And one of the things that I've talked about, and I mentioned this to you before we started recording, and I have mentioned it more than once on this podcast, where I feel like all of comedy that you see today, it all can stem back from Laurel and Hardy, Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and the Marx Brothers.
Yeah,
and I feel like those are the four acts that are so different from each other, and that when you see a movie with Will Ferrell today, where it's, let's say, Step Brothers, for example, you see them acting silly. That's a lot of there's a lot of Marx Brothers in that. There's a little bit of Laurel and Hardy in that too, and they mix things together, but. Honestly, a lot of this is unconscious on the part of the producers or the writers.
You probably kind of know.
They're just influenced.
To me, I think when I watch Chevy Chase in his prime, in his movies, some of the stuff he did was like totally Jerry Lewis. Pratfall almost stuff. He's stumbling over, seeing a good-looking woman, and he's like stumbling over the stuff that's in his hand, and I think I appreciate that because they're paying tribute in their act. What made them appreciate who they are and what probably brought them into being a comedian or whatever. So, and I'm going to say this, going back a quick minute, is that I think really it's important this is being heard because I think America needs to know who these people are. Again, I would, if I haven't already said, to appreciate the finer things of American history. Even now, we can look back. This is going almost 100 years back. Now.
Yes, yeah.
In some respects, it has been. So
90 years since their premiere.
Wow. There you go.
On the screen,
awesome.
yeah.
I figured that much. It would at least be that long. And some of those guys were born before 1900.
Yeah.
And they're already in their prime of life, and they're on the up the hill, already at the hill at 40 plus years old. In the movies, they were already in their act for years.
Yeah.
On the stage, but then
they were ready.
Yeah.
They were so ready.
Developed themselves, they're primed themselves. So I guess that's a segue into the movie, right?
Yep.
Movies.
Perfect segue.
Okay, and there's 14 Marx Brothers movies we're talking about, right?
Really, there's 13 that between the Coconuts and Love Happy.
Yeah.
That Love Happy would be 13.
Oh, but the Story of Mankind was like the 14th, but was never
really. So if you want to count that, you can count it. But we'll, for the purpose of discussion, we'll talk about the 13 that everybody has seen.
Yeah.
And we'll go from the first one to the last one, and we'll just go over our favorite parts of each movie, and maybe mention a couple of interesting tidbits about each film. Let's see. We've got the Coconuts first.
Yeah.
And that was made in 1929, and that had Margaret Dumont and Kay Francis in it. And What's your take on the Coconuts?
I think it was a great start for them. I mean, I lived in Florida, so then it kind of hit home more to me when they would reference some things about Florida. Like when the sea. I love that movie too. I love all the movies. I'm going to say that to begin with. All the movies are something in that is good for everybody to learn from or to know about American history at that time, what have you. So I love the whole thing where Chico's trapped in that room. They're hanging a picture and it was storming out, and then he couldn't go out because it was raining and storming. He went to the other side of the house, and then he opens up the door. It's sunny, the birds are chirping, and he goes, Florida, I love it, because in Florida it can rain on one side of the street and not the other. So I really love how they really took reality and made fun of the reality that they were in. So that's what they did in all their movies. I think they really good satire, making fun of life and people and everything. Coconuts it's a classic start for them, and I love some of the scenes. Boy, they looked really young. In fact, I just watched a commentary about them. They said the way they looked in that movie is literally exactly how they looked on stage at that point in that movie, because that was their first. So, but there's so many sequences in that movie that I thought was great. Harpo eating the speaker to the phone. He tried to throw the phone, and Groucho says, "Hey, don't throw that phone. It's only for long distance." And like these things that, like, I cannot believe, honestly, that some of the stuff was scripted because it was done so well. I think because they brought a lot of that from their act, they already knew what they were going to do, or they decided this is what we're going to put in the movie. But to just say that they had specific writers, I could talk about Groucho's career after that they said he was scripted. I think no. He either he was a darn gifted actor to fool you to think what he did was scripted or not. But I think overall these guys were just really good at off the cuff stick in comedy. So
well, they had, you were talking about writers. They had in the Coconuts and Animal Crackers. They had Burt Kalmar and Harry Ruby, and also George S. Kaufman.
Yeah, I thought of him,
They wrote all of the earlier films, and George S. Kaufman followed them to MGM to write A Night at the Opera also. But Kalmar and Ruby, they appeared once again in the credits into writing music. They wrote the music for the films, all the songs, and they wrote most of the bits. But the Marx Brothers were adept at also improvising.
Yeah,
and they often,
and you can see that. I think that's probably what was hard, and I think they said that specifically about the Coconuts. It was hard for them to follow as a filmmaker what they did.
Yes,
because what they did in specifically that first film, the Coconuts, is what they were doing on stage. So it was hard for the cameraman to even keep track of them because they're such physical comedians. Even though Groucho was a verbal comedian, he had a lot of physicality. He danced. He did a lot of funny walks and that kind of thing. So to capture these guys, all these different nuances about their characters, you couldn't just. It's not easy to keep them in one little box on a screen. It's like
they were absolutely zany. And the Coconuts. The Coconuts was a movie that was developed that they specifically tried to replicate their stage act and put it on film. Yeah. And it was filmed in New York and has a much less cinematic quality than their later films.
But it wasn't really set in Florida. They didn't go on
location. It was in New York.
No alligators were harmed during the filming of that show.
Yeah,
or that movie.
Right.
Okay, so
no, it was a good entryway. Although the brothers actually, believe it or not, I've heard they wanted to actually destroy all the negatives to the movie.
Wow.
And Paramount said, "Whoa, no, we filmed it."
I think you're right. I think I just heard that on
They did not want it. They did not want to release it.
If you watch the Blu-ray edition, they have a Blu-ray edition of the first 5 Marx Brothers movies, and I think when you go to the 5th disc where Duck Soup is on, they have a segment where they have a lot of commentaries and some comedians and writers and actually Arthur Marx, the son of Harpo, was actually commentating. And they talked about some of the very details you just mentioned. So I would say that's a worthy investment in your comedic classic movie library.
Yeah, and if I were you, if I were a listener listening to this right now, and I have not seen a Marx Brothers movie, let's just say you haven't seen it. Don't start with the Coconuts.
Right.
I really love the Coconuts. and it's just it's a really great movie, but the cinematic quality is pretty bad.
Yeah.
But the jokes are great.
There's great stuff. Why a duck?
Yeah.
One of the classic
why
scenes.
a duck? Why a duck?
Why not? He goes, why not a chicken? He goes, you cross over
why a
chicken,
duck?
you'll find out why a duck.
Oh, it's just so There's so many. Watch if you're gonna start watching the Marx Brothers. Make this the 5th or 6th one that you watch, and you'll enjoy it more thoroughly.
Yeah.
I believe. And then they went to Animal Crackers with the second entry.
Oh man!
And again, another New York film, 1930.
That was when they're on the ship, right?
Animal Crackers
coming into the U.S.
Okay, yeah,
the African explorer. Did someone call me?
Yeah, Captain Spaulding. Hooray for Captain Spaulding!
Okay.
Yeah, hooray, hooray, hooray!
Are we recording now?
We are recording.
We're back to recording. Okay, so we're just reminiscing, trying to get our minds back off the coconuts and shifting into the other.
Yes.
One. It's really, to be honest, they were so good. If you watch all the movies together, it's like it could be a whole lifetime you're watching of these guys.
Yes.
And it's like sometimes to shift gears into the next movie. It's like, wow.
One blends into the other. I will say, the highlights from Animal Crackers. One I think is Groucho singing "Hello, I must be going."
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah,
I cannot stay.
I'm glad I came.
I'm glad I cannot stay. I came to say I must be going.
Okay. Yes.
I'm
glad
I came.
That's why he sang it and we didn't. That's why we're sitting in a taxi.
Yeah. But yeah, and then he's got the one line where he says,
"Okay.
Oh,
come to the car." We're back at talking about Animal Crackers, and it just came to my mind. I got to remember me and everybody else that these guys were musical geniuses as well, if you ask me.
Yes.
Harpo to me, not Harpo. Well, he's a great in his own right playing the harp. He literally taught himself by ear how to play. Chico was trained by his mother how to play the piano, so was Harpo. But one thing I love about Chico, he could do such crazy things that nobody else in this world has ever done before or after him. And playing the keys, shoots the keys. He can roll an orange on the keys and still keep in tune and rhythm with the song he's playing. Beautiful thing. And in Animal Crackers specifically, I love that song.
Yes. And
then Groucho hates it when he's playing it. It's like, oh, in real life, I guess usually what I was read is that Groucho couldn't stand all that stuff, so he'd leave when and come back when the guys were finished doing their musical bits. But even Groucho played, guitar in one of the movies and sang. So these guys are not just talented comedically, but they could sing, they could dance, they can play keyboard, piano, whatever. So these guys were really gifted in so many different ways. But if we could say this real quick, I just think it was a divine inspiration that these comedians would come out and shine in some of the darkest periods of American history, to be honest. I think it's something that we should think about. So now Animal Crackers, they had a lot of great scenes. Remind me, I think, isn't that one where he
the best line from that is the one that everybody, even if you haven't seen it, you know the line.
Yeah.
One morning I shot an elephant in my pajamas.
How I got my
pajamas, I don't know.
I always like to tell people, because I go to Africa, I do missions and work there, and one thing I always like to tell people that, and I'll tell them if they don't know anything much about Africa, I say, I bagged 6 tigers, and I'll use this line from that movie. It's like, I begged them to go away, but they hung around all afternoon.
That's right.
And it's just fun stuff you could talk about Africa, because Groucho was an African explorer in that movie, and that was really funny, because he had the guys carry the black indigenous tribal guys come in and carry him in this like cart kind of thing and drop him off, And one thing I thought was funny, because he got afraid of the caterpillar on his chest and his lapel, and he passed out, and then he goes, "Bring me my whiskey." And the guy goes, "Where's the whiskey? The whiskey, where's the whiskey?" And he goes, "It's in the little black bag in the right-hand corner." I'm thinking, what a weird thing, because which one is the right-hand corner? When you know way you turn it. So some of these things they throw out there are just such mind twisters too, that make maybe no sense, but they're so stupidly out there, just crazy antics and fun for the brain. It's cerebral comedy, physical comedy, musical comedy. It's so great that they covered all the bases of comedy. Let's just say that about them.
Absolutely.
They didn't leave any stone unturned when it came to how they utilized their comedy.
And, do you remember this line? where he says, I don't like Junior crossing the tracks on his way to reform school. I don't like Junior at all, as a matter of fact.
I don't remember that. That's a good one. Oh, good Lord. And Harpo, I like him in that. He was good. He chased the chicks in that movie. Wasn't that with the guy, A.B. the Fishman? In that movie? A.B. the Fishman?
Yeah.
And then when Groucho's interviewing this guy, and he's talking about the 7-cent nickel. And see, there's so many classic things in these movies that I flash back to now. And then Chico and Harpo were,
and they all blend.
Yeah, and Chico and Harpo were meeting him on the stairs, and they stole the guy's necktie, stole the check from the guy, and because they said, "You're A.B. the Fishman," and he goes, "No, I'm not." But they knew him, but he's not, but he really was. And then he paid them off to, they begged him or bribed him to pay him off to prove, that he's not. They won't say anything that he really is a old fish peddler. And then they like doing all kinds of weird antics. And one of the funniest things at the end is like Harpo even stole his birthmark. He says he's even got a birthmark. It's on the arm, and they see this big black spot on his arm. And all of a sudden, then they, like I said, Harpo stole his tie. They stole the check from the guy, and then he goes, "You got the birthmark." He took his birthmark too. It's all like, what in the heck can you do more to a person?
I cannot whistle out loud, otherwise I'd whistle like Harpo right now.
Mike, who can?
That's
the thing. These guys were so good. It's very hard to imitate these guys. We have to hands up to, or thumbs up to Frank Ferrante, who's done a really decent job. I do have a CD of his, Life in Review by Frank Ferrante.
Yes.
And he got his start in Kansas City here, by the way. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, he used to go to Waldo Astoria and these popular hangouts where they did that kind of stuff back in the day, and he got his start, and Arthur Marx was part of that push of Groucho's son.
I'm going to try to get him on this show as well, so at some point.
Yeah.
Sounds
good.
Then we've got a movie that's just, I think, fabulous. Yeah, Monkey Business. 1931.
Oh,
and, it starts with the barrel scene,
yes,
where they're all hiding in the barrels.
Oh.
And of course
I'm exhausted already.
Yeah, you see all these... All of that barrel scene is just to die for.
That was funny. Never mind the barrels.
Never mind the barrels. Exactly.
He goes. There's not even enough room to swing a cat. There's the barrels so small. But anyway.
Well, and you've got the Punch and Judy show,
the puppet show,
yes, where Harpo is clobbering that officer on the ship.
They call him a floor walker.
Whatever he was. Yeah, he was just clobbering him. And
one thing I thought about that, especially in that scene, these kids were genuinely laughing.
Yeah,
you could tell this was not okay, kids. Now here's your cue to laugh. I think Harpo had a gift of being able to, and as we talked earlier before the show, that Harpo was a real genuine guy. Everybody liked him and loved him, and he made everybody laugh no matter where he was. And I've even seen films with their whole family out there playing and having fun with him. And so when I saw that and I heard the response of those children in the movie as actors, you're responding to Harpo was just perfect, beautiful. That's great. If you can get a kid to laugh, you can get anybody to laugh, I think.
Oh, it's just,
he's great.
He
appealed to the kids. He was like a kid.
My children would tell, my daughter would still tell you today that Harpo was her favorite.
Wow.
Yeah, and my children, they grew up. I showed them the Marx Brothers movies, and they really enjoyed Harpo. And later, my son became more entranced by Groucho, but Harpo was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, he was very well gifted. I love when he was standing against the woman's bathroom sign and he covered up the W-O.
Yes.
And a man walked in and he got thrown out and he looked at Harpo and walked away like, what the heck happened here? And then he moved and you can see the rest of the sign said,
"Oh, yes."
I see some of these sight gags are just
and
crazy.
Do you remember the scene on the ship on Monkey Business where they're dishing out food? And of course, Harpo never bought a meal in his life. Harpo, when the guy was at the front of the buffet line, he's pouring out this big pasta dish, and Harpo looks at him like, I can't do the face on this podcast, but he is he looks in total amazement, like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm getting a meal and nobody.
His emotions. Is that oh yes.
You're just giving me a meal.
Yeah.
I mean, he never
I love that.
had a meal that he didn't steal in his life.
Yes.
And his character stole everything.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that's something to.
They were stowaways. We got to
yeah, they were stowaways.
This is the first movie they were stowaways.
And he was just, he was just. Harpo was just aghast. He couldn't believe that somebody would give him free food.
That kind of segues into the song. Is that the one I'm thinking of, or am I thinking of Night at the Opera when they're singing Cozy Koza? Or are we mixing that up? Because I thought the buffet scene was in A Night at the Opera on the ship when they're getting.
No, it's. I think it. Is it Monkey Business?
Yeah, I think Monkey Business was not that one.
Okay.
But good thought.
Yeah,
I mean, you
so that's the way
these
Harpo is.
Though. Yeah, I agree. He had great sense of reality of expressing emotion without any words being said. That's cool.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I think that one came out of because they're on their way to America in Night of the Opera. I think that was that one because then they sang Cozy Kosa at that scene.
Okay.
And then he plays the piano and destroys the piano. Remember? And he pulls out the harp. If I remember right.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about. But one thing that isn't toward the end of Monkey Business is the Maurice Chevalier scene.
Yes,
where they all are trying to be Maurice Chevalier.
Yes, that's when they finally embark and they're trying to get their passports. He said, and I love all the sight things that Harpo would pull out. He goes, I said passport, not pasteboard. And then he brought out a washboard. And what else did he bring out?
Is there anything Harpo can't bring to I mean,
is that also?
He has everything in that coat.
I was thinking back about I think in the last one we were talking about the first movie where he wanted the flat, the flashlight, the fliss, the flutes, the fish, and so he was always pulling out something out of his pockets that was a play on words to what was literally being said. So this guy was always. I think he planned all that. This was not scripted, some of this stuff.
No.
I think they had to roll with that. You never know. So, but it was great. So, yeah, I liked a lot of scenes in that movie, too. We're probably mixing up some. Hopefully, forgive us.
There are two boat movies.
Yeah, there are. So, but there was other ones where they wanted food. Because I think this is in Monkey Business. They're in the room, and he wanted Groucho ordered up the captain's lunch, and they were they're stealing his lunch, and he goes, I haven't eaten for 3 days. I didn't eat yesterday, didn't eat today, I'm not going to eat tomorrow.
Yes,
that's what Chico said.
No.
So, holy cow. So there's so much in these movies that you pull out, and you're like, holy cow. And they're grained in your mind.
Oh, yes.
I think I'm sitting here seeing the movie flash before my eyes as we're talking about it and pulling out these crazy scenes. I mean, there's too many to name in one movie, or we'd be telling you the whole movie. We'd be here because most movies are only about an hour or so long. So we'd be here for like 8 to 12 hours telling you about all these movies if we had the time.
Which, by the way, keeping movies tight, 70 minutes usually was the run of a Marx Brothers movie. Or a Laurel and Hardy movie for that matter. They kept movies tighter back then, which I think is the way to do it. When you have these guys, like you got modern directors, comedy directors that are directing comedies that are 2 hours and 5 minutes. It's like, why is your movie that long? It's a comedy. It should be an hour and 20 minutes.
If you could do it, you could do it. I mean, I think
keep it tight.
Jim Carrey, he's done it, whatever. So, but we all go back to the Marx Brothers. They done it well in the short amount of time that they had to work in. They done it well because they had so many years at vaudeville. Again, we go back to their beginning, their roots. So they already knew what it meant to be on time and do everything just right. Oh my God, how did they get their start? We didn't bring that up. Where did the Marx Brothers literally start their comedic act? Nacogdoches, Texas.
Oh,
and they said that there was a run. They were just doing their musical act, and so the people who were bored didn't like what they were doing. some guy come into the theater, runaway mule. Everybody goes out to see the runaway mule. They'll all come back in, and then Groucho's notice say it takes one jackass to follow another one. He really offended these people. Then I think Chico said Nacogdoches is full of roaches. Then they were never asked back. But that was the beginning of their comedic career. Harpo jumped underneath the stage rug and was going around like a bug underneath the rug, and then Chico was shooting the keys there. I've seen and heard a lot and read a lot of this stuff. So to be true, I believe it came even from some of the actors' family members that tell these stories. So if people invest in your comedic future, buy the DVDs, buy the Blu-rays, download the digital copies, and enjoy yourself. Want a good laugh? You're depressed? You'll break out of depression.
Oh, that's
so seriously.
Yes. Yeah, and if you watch Monkey Business, we're still covering it, but. One of the.
I thought we were at Animal Crackers, but okay.
No, we're Monkey Business now.
Okay, holy cow, okay.
Yeah, no. One of my favorite bits from Monkey Business is when on the ship when the gangster comes after Groucho, and Groucho is with the lovely Thelma Todd at the time, and the guy pulls a gun on Groucho. And Groucho wasn't fazed at all. He says, "Oh, is that what you got for Christmas? I got a fire engine."
Yeah, that's right.
Like a little child. And it's just like what a great line.
In that same scene, he's like, there's so many lines in there. Oh my gosh. Oh man. He's laying on the bed, and there's some things he said kind of toward her. What was that line? You remember? It was pretty out there for the time.
There were a lot of out there lines for Groucho. So, he when he raised his eyebrows,
yeah, you know what that meant. So and then he goes, "I'm going to the closet where men are empty overcoats," and but he said something specifically on that bed that was really darn funny, but I can't remember right off the bat.
Well, but we will have to watch all of these again, and for the 20th time for me.
I don't know. I've probably seen them all more than 20 at least.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you about me. I've written 2 comedy albums, produced and acted in.
Yeah.
And I got some of that my material on the YouTube, but I made creditation to the Marx Brothers, Jerry Lewis. And on my second album, I did a bit where I'm singing "Hello, I Must Be Going," making an homage to Groucho. And so these guys were my inspiration. And I think any comedian should be able to admit, if they're any kind of comedian at all, they could say, hey, these guys were probably some of their inspiration, or at least in the banks of the waters they tread in their comedy pool. So, anyway, wow. Good Lord.
Well, and film number 4 came out in 1932.
Horse Feathers.
Horse Feathers, okay. Correct. A very tight 68-minute film. Groucho sings in that, too.
Yep.
Sings...
Everyone says
whatever.
I love you.
Yeah, yes, but I was thinking of whatever it is, I'm against it.
Yes.
Whatever it is, I'm against it.
That's Professor Huxley of Wagstaff College.
Yes. Oh, and
Professor Wagstaff of Huxley College, because they even made a mistake by saying it like that once.
And we've got Chico.
I love that one. Yeah.
And Chico was funny in that he plays Baravelli.
Yes.
And he says, "I make you a proposition. It's what is it? How does it go? He says, you give us we give you $200, we take $2,000 and call it square." I'm messing it up, botching it.
Okay.
I botched it, but it's funny stuff.
You remember some that I don't remember, but I
yes.
There's a lot. I like when they go in the speakeasy, and then Harpo, of course, he can't speak, so they ask him what the password is to get in the speakeasy. He takes a big fish and a sword, sticks it in the mouth,
swordfish,
and then he lets him in.
Yeah.
And then they go in there, and these guys are playing cards, and he tells the other guy, cut the cards. Or Harpo's standing there watching. He takes an axe out and cuts the cards in half. Just weird sight gags. He plays the cash register like a slot machine. He gets all his money. No, it was a phone.
Yeah.
Remember the phone on the wall? It's like some of this stuff you're like, wow.
Yeah, and then we've got Groucho had a couple of really wonderful lines in that movie. He says to Wagstaff, he plays Wagstaff, and he says, I'll consult my lawyer, and if he advised me to do it, I'll get a new lawyer.
Yeah, right. Oh, I love that when he tells his son, he goes, your mother and I wouldn't have kids, but remember, imagine our disappointment when you arrived. Ouch.
Yes.
And his son is like one of the classmen of the
Oh,
upperclassmen
yes,
of the college.
yes.
Oh, and I love like at the beginning when they're the guy was speaking and Groucho's shaving. He goes, "This is the dullest speech I've ever heard." You know, except for my razor, that's the dullest speech I've ever heard.
Yes.
Something like that. Just these things, just wow, whoa.
Yeah, there's a lot to take, and Ed Chico plays plays the piano in this. Harpo plays the harp in
Groucho
this.
played
Yeah, and then wait a minute, I almost forgot another part where with Groucho in that movie in Horse Feathers where he says, "Can you cash a check for $12.50?"
Oh yes.
And so the guy's like, sure. He pulls it out of the register. Well, as soon as I get $12.50, as soon as I get a check for $12, I'll give it to you.
There's some stuff.
Oh my!
I love when when Todd falls in the water and because he lost the oar, she's going for the oar or whatever because he threw the oar at the duck and the duck was cracking up and whatever, and then she goes, "Quick, throw me a lifesaver." He pulls out the roll of lifesavers and throws her one. You remember that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Some of these sight gags are just too much you're like, either you're going to say, that's just downright stupid, or that's just like, what the heck? Did I just see? That's funny. That's nuts. And that's some of the best comedy, shock and awe comedy. I think Marx Brothers really invented shock and awe comedy because things you wouldn't think they would ever do or anybody would think of doing. You know, like Harpo, he would do some of the weirdest things. Who would have thought taking a fish and a sword and, using it as
Well, they just interrupted convention. And that's why people like Margaret Dumont were so... Like, if the Marx Brothers desperately needed straight characters to bounce off of, and they if they don't have those straight people not trying to tell jokes, then the Marx Brothers will not be nearly as funny.
Now, wait, which one was the card scene where they were playing the cards and they were cheating on Margaret Dumont and that woman? Was that?
That sounds...
Or Monkey Business.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Oh, the cards.
Why I'm asking
I know exactly what you're referring to, but I can't...
Because I love it when Harpo's sitting there licking his thumb and throwing the cards out the wrong way. Mm-hmm. He's using one hand to lick his thumb.
Yes.
And then throwing the card with the other hand. And then he's cheating, and it's obvious he's cheating. And the girl's kind of catching on to it, but not. And then they're saying the dummy leads, and Chico says the dummy. He points at Margaret Dumont. I'm not the dummy. I love stuff like that. It's like you're picking on everybody.
You sounded just like her.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm not the dummy.
It's like, and I love when he was like pulling out the card table. The butler was, and then he just kept throwing the leg back in.
Oh yes.
Just so much. Oh, there's too much.
Yeah,
we need to take a Valium after doing this show.
It's something. Maybe just watch Marx Brothers movies. Then we have Duck Soup, which came out in 1933.
If we could both agree, I think we have agreed earlier that this is probably the best of them all.
Yeah. What I told you, we had lunch earlier, and what I told you is that I think that the difference between Duck Soup and Monkey Business is razor thin as far as my liking for it to it, and I think Horse Feathers to Monkey Business is razor thin. I think maybe each one is one good gag, just one good gag better than the other. I really enjoy Duck Soup, Rapid Fire, of course Chico and his peanuts.
Yeah. Oh, there's
peanuts.
Just too much in that movie. There's so much. That's why it's my favorite, because it has so much in it. You cannot just say, "Oh, that's my favorite scene," because there's so much in that movie that makes fun of women and war and politics and everything, and leaders and everything. It's like, oh.
Well, I do have a favorite scene, and that's with Edgar Kennedy.
Okay, that is a good one. I have to admit, that is a classic one. I love the hat scene.
Yes.
Yeah, they're kicking the hat around. And,
the lemonade. And what's funny is there's actually two scenes with Edgar Kennedy. They're split up. And, it's almost like, let's just hit on it one more time.
Yeah.
And
just give him one more.
I'll teach you to kick me.
You don't know how to kick me. I know how. Teach me. I know how to kick.
Yeah, you don't have to teach me. I know. And Harpo burning up his hat. Harpo stepping in the man's lemonade.
And barefooted, if you will. Don't forget that part. Oh, like that's it. My wife. I remember that because my wife was watching that with me. My wife is from Ghana, West Africa. She doesn't know too much about American stuff except for through me. So we're watching that movie, and I remember her reaction. And almost all the time, anything that strikes her, she'll make this funny grunt. Oh, you're like, it's like she's getting it herself. It's like being done her. Oh my! It was so funny, her reaction. Yeah, but and then Harpo was like, he was like a time bomb waiting to explode. You don't know what his fuse is short. You don't know what he's. I love it when like he's looking up. The guy took his peanuts and he took the guy's peanuts and he looked up in the air and he slaps him out of his hand.
Yeah.
You know, and just like Harpo's always like
the hat trading.
Oh, the hat trading was great. They put Harpo's hat on Edgar, and all that was
They couldn't
insane.
get it right. Hey,
and
poor Edgar Kennedy.
Oh.
He probably deserved a little bit about what he got, but the punishment probably didn't really fit the crime to Edgar Kennedy.
He was a tough bird, man. He was a classic comedian himself. A straight guy. So we have to thank God for him being a.
When I dealt with my Laurel and Hardy show, I talked a lot about Edgar Kennedy being.
Because he was in a lot of those.
He was in you know, there are certain people that kind of bounce back and forth between the Marx Brothers and Laurel and Hardy because they all needed the straight people to bounce off of, and and Groucho plays. Before we get into Groucho, I don't want to forget about the scene where the dog dog starts barking outside of Harpo's chest.
Yeah.
He opens up his shirt and there's a dog barking.
That was a perfect example of early special effects. That was classic. Yeah, the doghouse was tattooed on his chest, and he goes meow, and the dog comes out. Brr, brr. Yeah. Perfect. He was like
Harpo and the scissors in that movie too, by the way.
The scissors.
He cuts the back of the guy's jacket and cuts.
Because he wanted to get spy on. He goes, he was talking about spying. What was that guy's name? I forget, but he was on the other team or other country, whatever.
Yes.
And he's asking these guys to shadow Groucho, and he goes, what day did you shadow him? Shadow day. It's like these words they put on.
My gosh.
Oh my God, that scene, there's so much there. They picked on that guy hard too. They cut his cigarette down. They lit one with him, you know, with the big blowtorch. And he threw his record up.
Harpo and his blowtorch.
Oh, jeez.
Harpo, wow.
God.
And of course, Groucho plays Rufus T. Firefly.
Yes.
And he becomes the leader of Fredonia.
Hail Fredonia, land of the brave and free. So at the beginning of the movie, I love when he meets up with Margaret Dumont. She's the statesman or whatever.
Margaret Dumont is back in the scene.
He really reamed her heart on this one, even in the beginning. She goes, it's a gala day to have you here. He goes, well, a gala day's enough for me. I don't know if I can handle it anymore, you know. and then she goes, something about covering a lot of ground. Say you cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, say you cover a lot of ground.
They're going to tear you down to put off an office building where you're standing.
Yes.
In a matter of 1 minute, this guy tore her to pieces.
More like 17 seconds.
God.
I bet if you timed it, that you're going to come up with 17 seconds, 20 seconds.
And he's rattling off all this stuff.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire. And he's the one that says to her, say, you haven't been talking, stop talking since gotten in here. You must have been vaccinated with a phonograph needle. And he's like rattling off this stuff that she's not even getting hardly one word in edgewise. I thought, wow. And I love how he talks about her late husband who died and left her a fortune. He goes, can't you see what I'm telling you? I love you. When he finds out there's money involved.
Can't you see I love you?
She goes, I held him in my arms until the bitter end, and I kissed him. So it was murder.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. That one, see, I've watched that over and over and still laughed the same like I saw it the first time.
Oh, my.
And sheesh. Well, we got to talk about this. I think, thank God for Lucille Ball. She did this in one of her shows.
Again.
Moments.
Yes.
Sorry?
Yeah, I'm hitting record again.
Okay.
We got interrupted there, but so you were talking about Lucy.
Well,
and the mirror scene.
Lucy, my favorite comedian, if you will. She paid homage to the Marx Brothers. Has had Harpo on her show, and they did a rendition of the classic mirror scene when all the brothers, except for Zeppel, dressed up like Groucho. And they were, they were all acting, they broke a mirror, so then one of Harpo and Groucho literally had to actually pantomime each other in this scene. And Lucy did this on one of her shows
with Harpo. Yeah, with Harpo.
Beautiful, so beautiful. And I thank God, see, again, like I said earlier, great comedians have to say, hey, this is who we hail from. This is our bloodline here. So that was a classic scene in Duck Soup. We're on Duck Soup, and that just, wow, great movie. Just so much in that movie that's flashing through my mind.
It goes so fast too. One of the things that I like is the courtroom scene where Chico. Oh, of course, there's a couple lines from that. One is from Chico where he says, I've got an uncle in Texas.
No, we're talking about dollars, Texas. That's it.
Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas. That's where he's from.
Yeah. and
of course,
that kind of a testimony we can eliminate. Okay, I'll take some. You take what? A nice cold glass of lemonade. Jesus.
He's just Chico. We don't give Chico enough love for how truly great he was with his own rapid fire delivery.
Yeah,
he was
great.
Truly great.
Yes. Oh my God.
And then
because he could set up stuff really well.
And of course we've got the Fredonia's Going to War song, to war. I mean, it's if you haven't seen it, you just absolutely have to see this movie.
We have to thank the people who revived that movie and revived the Marx Brothers in some respects. The hippie generation when they're anti-war protesting the Vietnam War. We've got to really thank them. I'm not against them protesting the war too much. But I still want to say thank you for reviving the Marx Brothers because they used that movie as comic relief during that tension in that era in the 70s. And also, I heard that Winston Churchill used to watch Duck Soup during World War II in his bunker.
Oh, I have heard that. I have heard that.
And so
I have heard that. Yes.
Very, very interesting.
Oh, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention probably the best line in this Duck Soup movie is where Groucho says, Ciccolini may talk like an idiot, he may look like an idiot, but I assure you, he really is an idiot. Yeah. He really is an idiot. And
oh gosh.
Well, and then when we go to the next set of movies.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait.
Oh, what? Let's say.
Are we stuck on? I thought we were still stuck on Duck Soup. But
no, go ahead. What else? Let's wrap up Duck Soup.
I don't know if we can wrap that up. Can you wrap up a time bomb? I don't know.
I plan to do a show only on Duck Soup. If you want to come on that with me, we will talk about that in detail.
We can do that movie by itself. Segment by segment in the movie. Oh wow!
We'll do this again in a few months, and we'll break it down. We'll break Duck Soup down.
The Marx Brothers Duck Soup movie in review. We ought to do that as a YouTube video. I would say that would be fun. Nonetheless. But wow! I mean, there's so much in that movie, though. It was one. If the Marx Brothers were terrorists, they would put the ISIS to shame. I mean, you know what I mean? They're comedic terrorists. They called them anarchists too.
Yes.
So I guess that really fits for comedy because they were explosive. They were dynamite. They were a ticking time bomb, and they would explode on anybody, everybody, and not care. And in a comedy way, okay, folks. We don't want the FBI knocking on our door. Hey, excuse me, you're talking about terrorism.
So as we transition. Oh, you got one more?
Anything else on Duck Soup? I mean, there's too much in it, like you said.
We're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to do this again. Talk about only about Duck Soup. We are reaching the 58-minute mark. So
58 minutes.
We got to get to the MGMs. So we go to a transitional stage for the Marx Brothers.
Okay.
So for the casual fan, again, I don't know how you can be casual, but whatever. If you're a casual fan, you would probably end up recognizing, watching all the films, that the second set of movies they made were not quite as great as the first set. Now, they were great, but we open up with what happened was, just to give you some background, is that the Marx Brothers were kind of chasing after money.
Toward the end of their career, and they're rebounding from the stock market crash.
Yeah.
World War II was kind of,
Duck Soup did not actually do particularly well at the box office. However, before it didn't bomb. I don't want to say
it was
bombed,
because it was anti-war right then and there. That movie's going on during the beginning of World War II, so they were trying to be kind of sheepish, or what is the word? Cautious about being, maybe back then, politically correct in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't make fun of something so serious as war.
And what ended up happening was we had Irving Thalberg, who was sort of the studio head, not really.
One of their guys died. Their main key backers died, right?
Well, Irving Thalberg was the guy at MGM, and he did die after they made 2 films. Mm-hmm. They did A Day at the Races and A Night at the Opera.
Both are good movies.
And Groucho later in life said that those were the 2 best MGMs, A Day at the Races and A Night at the Opera.
Movies, to speak of those movies, though, there was a cleanliness about them.
True.
If there was a higher quality in just the process of film, I'd noticed. Like
it's a much better quality film.
Higher quality.
The value of the film itself, not speaking of the content in the film, speaking of the value of the film itself is much higher quality because MGM had more money. But Irving Thalberg, to give you background, so what ended up happening was the Marx Brothers, in a way, were chasing after a big contract. Irving Thalberg convinced Groucho specifically that he could make their movies better and more appealing to women. And so when he thought he would bring a lavish production to a Marx Brothers movie, which a lot of people feel as if it was unnecessary to do that. I would rather have an hour and 20-minute Marx Brothers and none of the romantic interludes and all that.
I agree, and thank God for technology. You can almost skip right through those things nowadays. Because some of it's good for the history, for the time, because it was good stuff. We cannot say it was bad music and it was bad singing, but I think they almost needed an interlude in some of the mayhem that the Marx Brothers brought on the screen. I think they needed people to stop and catch their breath and wipe their brow, because that's like, these guys were running around and they're doing all their work, but you're sweating as a I almost said a parishioner, like you're in church watching a preacher. I'm saying it's like watching them. You're sweating just on their behalf because, so I think there's somewhat a reasoning behind it to kind of to bring a little bit of a reprieve or a break in the chaos that's going on.
Yeah.
How many people can sit there and watch this crazy chaos? And I guess good writers know how to put in, okay, let's take a breath here. Take an interlude. If music does that, creative writing in movies and everything. So I think they did it on purpose. But it seemed almost sometimes it took too long to get over, though. It's
kind of like when you go to a theme park and you ride 3 roller coasters in successive form without having to wait in line. And at some point you say, I need to sit down on a bench for a few minutes.
That's probably the good best way to. Yeah, I agree with that. Good analogy there. Yeah.
But Sam Wood directed their first film coming out of MGM, which was A Night at the Opera, and he did not get along with Groucho. Groucho said about Sam Wood actually Sam Wood started the conversation. He said when the camera wasn't going, he said to Groucho, "You can't make a actor out of clay," and Groucho said, "Well, yeah, and you can't make a director out of wood."
Ooh! Ow!
That burned. That burnt. Oh, he did not like Sam Wood.
He was Groucho in real life. Again, we go back to their names. That's why Groucho was called Groucho.
Yes.
Because this guy was cross. He was he would throw some harsh words out there, and I loved like the thing. I've read "Hello, I Must Be Going" by Groucho, his autobiography.
Yes.
And he's talking about divorcing his first wife, Ruth. He puts her in a taxi. He says, "You're in the neighborhood. Please stop by," and shuts the door. That's how harsh this guy was.
Oh yeah, he was harsh. Sorry. One of the collaborators, though, on this film, I don't know if you knew this, but one of the collaborators on Night at the Opera was Buster Keaton.
No,
He
of that I didn't.
He did a lot of writing he did a lot of the gags for Night at the Opera. And Buster Keaton said about the Marx Brothers, he hated working with them, by the way.
Wow.
He also did not like Groucho too much because Buster Keaton was a schedule guy. He put his, as Buster would say, he ate, slept, breathed gags, and that's all he thought about. And what would happen was Buster said, well, the Marx Brothers were very much in real life like they were on the screen. He said I didn't really like working with them too well because they I'd have one of them in the room, and then I'd say, where are the other two? And then that one would go look for the other two. The other two would come in, and the other one was gone. And so it was literally like that all the time for Buster Keaton and for the other writers. They gave them fits, and Buster
because
Keaton,
Chico was out gambling.
Yeah, they were doing this or that, and they purposely.
Groucho was more the on-time guy. He was more the the money straight, serious with money, serious with time.
Yeah,
do a business not work.
So yeah, you're right, and Groucho was a little bit more like that, and in this movie, Night at the Opera, we have instead of Zeppo was no longer part of the group. He went on to help the Marx Brothers with managing, and he also literally, or not literally, but after the Marx Brothers were done making movies, he went on to be an agent like his brother Gummo, and very successful. As a matter of fact, Zeppo might have had more money than all the others at the time of his death, but Alan Jones plays the part that Zeppo would have played, and that's Alan Jones is, to me, somewhat insufferable. Alan Jones is tough to deal with. He's not as he's not plugged in the way Zeppo is, and Zeppo was a part of the act. Alan Jones was not part of the act, and we also have Kitty Carlisle, famous actress that appears in this movie. One of my favorite parts of one of my favorite Chico lines where Groucho says, "Oh, you see, that's a sanity clause." And every
you can't fool me, there ain't no sanity clause.
That's right. You can't fool me, there ain't no sanity clause.
That's a great scene. That whole clause, that contract scene is great.
Now, my favorite part, most people
You're talking about Night at the Opera, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of great scenes in there.
It's a great movie, yeah.
Great movie. Is that where they have the state scene? The
state, exactly.
The whole people.
Exactly.
All these people in there. And it's like, and then a lady comes in, she goes, "I come to mop up." He goes, "We have to start on the ceiling. There ain't no room on the floor." Yeah. So.
Yes, exactly. The stateroom scene. It's such, in comedy lore, it probably ranks up there in top 5 all-time scenes of any comedy movie. If you see nothing of the Marx Brothers, please see the stateroom scene in Night at the Opera.
And see, I think in some ways these movies have been thrown out there with some of those classic scenes that could, bait people to see the rest of the movie too. So
yes,
and I would use that one as probably one of the best scenes in the movie for that reason. Duck Soup, probably. Good Lord, wow! That's another one for another day. Shoot, there's so many. Like the mirror scene is one of the best scenes in the movie. In Duck Soup, so to bait people, like a trailer. Would be good for a trailer.
Yeah, it's worth seeing all of each film, and we could sit here and talk about bits literally for 10 hours.
Yeah.
And then we're
just whetting people's appetite with
what
we're passionate about. It's just the tip of the ice cream cone, man. I mean, it's like, dude, you can't. It's hard. It'd be like saying, "What do you like best about your wife?" You can't just say one thing. You didn't just marry her eyebrows.
You better not just say just one thing. Yeah, no, it's just it's a whole package. Well, and then we go to.
Oh wait, can we go back to? Is there anything else? Another one we made. I think we already alluded to.
At Night at the Opera. One thing I don't want to forget about Night at the Opera is that scene with Harpo where he smashes the theater manager over the head with the what is it called? A sledgehammer.
The wand.
Yeah. Wait, he takes it and knocks the stage or the theater manager out because he was abusive toward Harpo.
Yeah.
So Harpo takes this sledgehammer type thing and knocks him over the head, knocks him out. And Groucho witnesses it, and we don't actually get very many scenes in these movies with Groucho and Harpo. There's some, but not a lot. But here's a classic scene where he knocked the guy out, and Groucho says, "You feel bad for what you've done, don't you?" And Harpo nods his head, "Yeah, I do." And then he says, "You got any smelling salts?" And then
he knocked him out.
That's the
guy in the clown suit.
He wanted, yes. How do you sleep in that with those buttons?
Yeah, how you sleep in your pajamas with such big buttons on your stomach? Oh my God.
Oh, but Harpo taking that and knocking him out the second time was so much funnier than the first time. That's the Marx Brothers.
That reminds me of that scene when they first see each other, Chico and Groucho, or Harpo, and he goes, "Hey, what'd you bring me?" And they brought out a big piece of bologna or whatever it was, and they both had the same thing for each other, and they're like all so grateful to have a gift from each other, even though it was the same thing. Oh God! And then when they went to hug each other, I thought that was funny.
Oh,
that was really nuts. Holy cow! Can you believe we're talking about the Marx Brothers and driving so fast? Woo. Holy cow!
Well, we go to the second MGM film, which is A Day at the Races, also directed by Sam Wood.
Loved that movie too. I really did.
And now you and I are going to have a slight disagreement here because I only really like this movie. I don't love it. I love a few of the bits. I think that the movie is far too long. They have too many songs that just aren't interesting.
Well, but the best song of the movie, I think, is "Lydia the Tattooed Lady" when they're on the train.
Oh,
right?
No, that was the.
Did we jump? Still think that's a good one. Because we talked earlier about some of the scenes there where they're trying to get him to prove he's a doctor, and.
And by no means do I say
he's a horse doctor.
You got that bit, and you've got the get your tutti frutti ice cream,
yes.
And
I'm the fine tutti frutti right here.
about 10-minute scene is classic, where Chico is constantly trying to sell Groucho more books. Mm-hmm. And eventually Groucho is carrying so many books that it's not humanly possible to keep carry them all, and so finally he tries to resell them. Yes. Whew. Yeah, get your tutti frutti ice cream.
That's a good. Glad you reminded me of that. It's a good scene. It really is.
The scenes with. I'm just going to say the scenes with Alan Jones just get on my nerves, and I just absolutely. He's just insufferable. But It is what it is. I think A Day at the Races is a really good movie. I really enjoy it. And honestly, I think it's a really good starter film for somebody who hasn't watched a Marx Brothers movie, because I feel like that's one that you can like, and it's one in the middle echelon. And then at the same time, if you like that one, you're going to love Duck Soup. You're going to love Monkey Business. You're going to love Horse Feathers.
Okay, so another Day that's a racist scene. Oh my God. It just...
Yeah.
There's too many I can, again, say that they're great, but I like when... wasn't this at the Day of the Races where he's sitting with that woman at the dinner table laughing, and Margaret Amont's sitting there waiting, and then they bring a check to the table, and...
Oh, yes.
$9.40.
Yeah.
What an outrage. If I was you, I wouldn't pay it. And then Margaret Dumont hears him, recognizes him. She goes, "Hey, I've been sitting here this whole time waiting for you." "Yeah, with your back to me. When I invite a woman to dinner, I like to have her sit in front of my face. That's a price she has to pay." And then...
yes.
Oh, and then what else? That was a great whole... Yes. Yeah, I told you we're going to the City Market. Yeah. I honestly, I don't think I really care too much about the length of the movie sometimes because it doesn't bother me that much, really.
No, what I would like is I just want a little more Marx Brothers and a little less Alan Jones. And honestly, if it was Zeppo, I would feel a little differently.
Yeah.
I think Zeppo did fine, and I think we underrate
him.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit not looked at as
little
part
unused,
of.
I think.
Yeah, but I feel like he was glue, and he kept things together, and he kept things tight, and he plugged a hole where it needed to be plugged and did it well because he was so used to playing with those guys. Yeah. But we go to what happened after this movie is Irving Thalberg died.
That's it.
And then their careers were in a state of flux, and they actually entertained the idea of they did. Yeah, they did. And they also what they end up doing is they end up making a picture for RKO called Room Service, which is not a typical Marx Brothers movie by any stretch. You have Room Service was a play, and they performed parts that were supposed to be performed by other people, and the Marx Brothers just ended up formatting Room Service to fit their.
Lucille Ball had her debut in that.
Lucille Ball, absolutely.
Now, see, I thought we skipped one. Day at the Races, at the circus. Where's that one at?
No, that one's after Room Service.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I always thought that came before Room Service.
No, it was after. No, it was no. The way you think of the Marx Brothers, you think of the Paramounts as one entity, and then I think of the Thalberg Marx Brothers, which are Day at the Races and A Night at the Opera, and then the little bit of an interruption where they did Room Service, and then they go back and did At the Circus and Go West and The Big Store, and so that's the second round of MGM films. Yeah, so there's the first round with Irving Thalberg as the producer, and then after Irving Thalberg died, Groucho was not happy that Irving Thalberg died. I think Groucho really had an affection for Irving Thalberg, and I think he understood what Irving Thalberg was trying to do. But we make Room Service, and I feel like I've heard you made a comment about you don't care for Room Service as much as I.
Room Service was a very congestive movie. It's like all it was is a scene inside of a room most of the time.
Yeah, as a play.
And
yeah,
I couldn't get past that. You want to. In some cases it could work, but it didn't work for me as far as a Marx Brothers movie, although there's some classic moments in that movie, when they're trying to prove that Harpo was sick and he used the doll to, yeah, that's it.
Open up!
So, yeah, it's like, so, and I forgot even what Lucille Ball's point was in that, but it was still neat to see her there in her young beauty-esqueness. But yeah, so you're talking about Room Service. It's like, wow, yeah, it's hard to say.
Well, there are some things. See, I disagree with hardcore Marxians on Room Service because I actually really like it, and I think that the gags, even though I do know what you mean by so much of it taking place in one room. Mm-hmm. I like the gags, and I definitely like the part where where they figure out a way to get the right meal in the wrong room, and where Harpo was eating at rapid pace, and he's got his fork and you've never seen anyone use a fork faster than Harpo used it. And that was hilarious.
Now that's in the Room Service? I didn't remember that.
Oh, no, that's in Room Service, yes. He's sitting there eating, and he's not only just eating
his,
but he's eating everybody else's. Yes, yeah. That's right.
Okay,
that's right.
Okay. I probably, I'll be honest, I think that's the one I probably have watched the least.
Yeah, and I have a strange affection for it. I don't like it better than the best of the Paramounts, or probably any of the Paramounts, but I do like it probably the best of all of them that aren't at Paramount, which defies most of what people say. But we had to pause the show just for a second, but we're back on here. And so the last thing we were talking about was Harpo and his eating style on room service, which is just fantastic. And honestly, my favorite part of that movie, Room Service, is when they have that meal, they convince that waiter to bring the meal to them. My favorite part is when Groucho had already promised the guy a roll, and he says, well, you know what? When I first made that promise to give him a roll, I really intended on following through, but now that I've eaten, I see things in a little different light. So I think that's just hysterical. It shows human nature, you know. But and of course you got from Room Service. You've got now I can't think of his name, but he says jumping butterballs probably about 6 times in the movie. And you also have Groucho with the line where he says, "I paid a bill." And he's like, I'm not used to paying bills. And the funeral service where they're so Leo Davis, he pretends to be dead, and the Marx Brothers were all sitting there trying to hold a funeral service that would last long enough for their play to be over before they got evicted from the hotel. I love that scene. Room Service, just to me, is just a movie that gets overlooked, and a lot of hardcore Marx Brothers fans disagree with me. I've had many discussions on Facebook about it, and people harshly disagree. They don't like Room Service, but it's kind of like Star Wars. Nobody hates Star Wars movies more than Star Wars fans. So
I guess there's a good point today. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we go to the second phase. After they did the RKO Room Service movie, they went back to MGM, and Louis B. Mayer did not like the Marx Brothers, but he decided to go ahead and re-sign with them and allow them to come up and make 3 more pictures. They made At the Circus in 1939. And there are some things to really like about At the Circus. I disagree with the premise, though, of putting them in a circus, because a circus is not conventional. So you're actually putting them in a situation where they're unconventional, and now they're fitting in, which is really not what the Marx Brothers are supposed to do. But having said that, there's a lot of really great gags from that your song Lydia. Oh Lydia, oh Lydia.
Yeah.
It's that. And that has Kenny Baker playing the Zeppo part.
Yeah, and let's not get him confused with the guy who played R2-D2, by the way. Because for a long time I thought he was, because there was a midget in that movie. So
yes.
That was where my confusion
And you know who that is? That was Jerry Marin. From The Wizard of Oz.
Really? I didn't know that.
And then Jerry Marin, the guy that just died about a year ago.
Wow, then he lived a long time then.
Yes,
wow.
He just died.
And he played what in Wizard of Oz?
One of the Munchkins.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was one of the Lollipop Guild. I can't remember, but I think he was one of those guys. But if I'm wrong, then I know someone will probably correct me. But, that also brings back Margaret Dumont and Florence Rice, famous actress, is in this movie. And
we're talking about
Harpo.
What movie again?
At the Circus, yes.
I really, there's some scenes in there. One classic mentioned, I can't remember her name, but she was also in the first Grease movie as the secretary.
Eve Arden, yeah.
Eve Arden,
yes.
And she was a classic comedian, if you will, in a way. No, somewhat something like that, foil in a way. So
if you can't be in athletics, then be an athletic supporter.
And then, I like she stole the diamonds. Is that right? And then they were upside down with the suction cup scene.
Yeah,
and he's trying to get her to shake the things out so he could steal them back.
Yes,
the necklace or whatever it was. That was a classic scene. I like that. But Lydia, to me, the whole Lydia song scene is classic to me. I love that.
It's a great song.
It's a very, oh man, there's nobody else who can cover that song as good. Obviously, I think that's like certainly a signature song of Groucho's that I can remember besides "Hooray for Captain Spaulding" or whatever. But yeah, I remember that movie at the circus. Isn't that when they're also on the train and that big burly guy comes in?
Yes.
Yeah.
With the Harpo wig.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
I don't understand that. I don't understand the Harpo wig.
He's the Bizarro of Harpo.
When you see him from the backside, you're going, is that Harpo?
Yeah, and I think Harpo fights this guy, right? In the movie, but yeah, he does because they're in the room.
Yes.
And don't they knock him out or something?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yes.
And like Harpo's trying to hide from him, so he cuts a hole in the mattress and hides it inside the mattress. And then the feathers were all blown around in the room. They're trying to knock him out somehow. Try to put that big guy to sleep or something. Him and Chico. So in that room, and the fan's blowing, and the feathers from the pillow is all blown around the thing, and he pulls out the stuffing and makes it look like Santa Claus and shaking the bell, and he's like, it's Christmas, I remember all that. I love the scene when they're that one. I vividly remember a lot of these scenes in that movie where they were trying to smoke, the three on the midget, no, and they're trying to smoke the cigars, and they kept throwing them away, and then Harpo keeps sneezing and blowing everything over in this small room for the midget guy. It was funny. It was pretty darn good. I like that. But isn't that the one where also they're trying to keep the cars together, and then Harpo's legs are stretching? I like that scene. I thought some of the stuff was really classic sight gags that are probably hard to pull off today, even maybe in some ways.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
And one thing what I will say about this film and the final two MGM films, Go West and The Big Store, is that I find Harpo to be the one trying the most, trying the hardest. I find Harpo the one, whereas in the beginning films, I find Groucho delivering the majority of the big laughs, and then later films, I see Harpo doing that, and I see Groucho being a little more or a little less interested in what he's doing. And I think if you watch him, he's still delivering rapid fire, but I don't think his heart is in these films quite as much as it was. I think the death of Irving Thalberg affected him slightly, even though and I think by this time they were done working with their famous Kalmar and Ruby and George S. Kaufman. They stopped their collaborations with him, and so that's something that I think caused Groucho to be a little more of a grouch. And then we have, like I said, the final two MGM films, which are Go West and The Big Store. Now, you told me you like The Big Store. What parts in that do you like? Oh, by the way, before you tell me that, I needed to say one thing about The Big Store. Is the one thing that's very notable is that Tony Martin was an actor that the Marx Brothers, or Tony Martin was an actor that MGM was hyper billing at this point. They were trying to get him marketed out there, and he received equal billing to the Marx Brothers. And his name is actually bigger.
Tony Martin's in that movie. He's the straight man in that movie.
Yeah,
and Zebbo could have filled his shoes.
And the MGM was trying to push him as a big time actor, and they were trying to make him to be the star of the film rather than the Marx Brothers.
That's not right.
And,
because it's a Marx Brothers movie. You can't do that.
Yeah, and really what Louis B. Mayer was doing was just running out the string. He didn't really want to sign the Marx Brothers. He didn't like the Marx Brothers. He didn't get the Marx Brothers. And let's face it, by now we've got Harpo and Chico, who are deep in their 50s making these movies, and in Harpo's case, acting kind of like a silly little boy. But But I really like everything Marx Brothers. But I think these two films I probably like the least, except for the very, very last one. But anyway, what's your take on The Big Store and Go West?
I would say let's say Go West real quick.
Yeah.
Because I do like that, and I'm not much of a Western guy, strangely enough to say, but the Marx Brothers, that movie made me like Western movies.
Yeah.
I growing up, they had John Wayne and all these other, big star movies, even to the tail end of Clint Eastwood's career as a Western guy, going into more grittier movies like Dirty Harry. So I did not like Westerns, and I don't know what it was that made me not appeal to them, but the Marx Brothers Go West movie made me love Westerns. And I love how they, in the beginning of the movie, they said, Horace Greeley is the guy who says to go west and made him sorry for saying it because the Marx Brothers went west, And the gags they did in Go West were great. I don't know if I'm putting this ahead of the other one, but
Go West first, then
okay,
the Big Store.
Good. Well, then Go
Big
West.
Store was really supposed to be their swan song.
Okay, so because that's right. If I remember right, they said that was their last song before they retired. But Go West had so much good stuff in it, though. Chico was saying, I like the West. It was better if it was in the East, and it was so dry that Chico was so hot and sweaty when they go into the saloon or whatever. He scratches or lights a match off his tongue, and Groucho was good with it. I think Groucho was really good with that. Oh, the carriage scene, whenever they're in the stagecoach and like they're they got that D, the Dead Man's Gulch, but I love the scene where Groucho's in there and the baby's crying and it goes, "What's wrong with your baby?" The baby can't stand the jerks in the coach, so they get up to run out of the coach like she's saying it's their fault. The jerks as in their guys, not the emotion. Yes. That was classic play on words and stuff. I love that. And these guys are actually belittling themselves. Kind of like when the Three Stooges, they'd be called gentlemen. They go, "Where?" It's kind of like they're even irreverent to themselves. I love that. Those kind of lines like that. Go West is classic because it's set in the West. And they made it look so real, even though it's a black and white movie. I thought it was really cool, using guns and making fun of, being gunslingers. And Groucho comes down the stairs shooting his guns off, and he goes, "Okay, boys," or comes in the saloon, "Okay, boys, shoot him out of the gutter." What happened? Man, but wow, holy cow. Back to Go West. It's just classic good stuff. There's nobody in the gutter when he says, clean out the gutter, boys. And he's like, "There's nobody there." Well, then clean out the gutter.
There's also a great line about the phone where
Don Amici hadn't invented the telephone yet.
Yes.
Yeah, and then, man, wow. So many good stuff in there. Clippity Clop, I like that song. I liked when Harpo played the harp off that little, when they're that little contraption they were making the quilts out of. I thought that was really good sight.
You're making me like this more, by the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and then one of Groucho's former later wives, or like number 3 or 4, is in that movie as one of the Indian women.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I forgot her name, but she was in that movie. And then it's like, oh man, it's just like, they had a totem pole that had the Marx Brothers on their faces as a totem pole. Some really cool sight, visual stuff there. It was really fun. Man, holy cow, there's just so much, And I think that train scene when Harpo got his legs stretched actually is in this movie. Boy, there's so much in that movie I like a lot. Some of the women I find back in that era were very attractive to me too, by the way. The lady in this movie, the woman, I thought she was very attractive. I don't know why I say that, because there's a classiness about those women in that era.
I've detailed that on this podcast many times.
Yeah.
There's just there's something about the way they carried themselves back in the 30s and 40s. It's just something about very, very different.
And there's the scene I love in that movie with the music, specifically with Chico, is when he's playing the song and on the piano, and then Harpo's getting ready to eat an orange or an apple or something, and then he drops it or something, or Chico takes it out of his hand and starts playing the piano and rolling the fruit on the keys and still with the rhythm of the song with an apple or an orange on the keys.
Yeah.
So amazing. It's like the talent there display was crazy, really awesome. A lot. There's just too much to remember. And like I say, in all these movies, there's no one favorite scene because they're all really done so well and fun to watch.
And what about the big story? Didn't you say you recently saw that?
I haven't recently seen it. No, but I would like to watch it again. There's some classical moments in there. I think when they made fun of Mark Dumont and he grouches up there and in the offices and of course Chico and then were caught stealing and then Groucho sings up to Margaret Dumont and she's engaged to some guy and he starts rattling off some kind of poetry to her. She goes, "Oh, you remind me of your youth. Really, you must be a big boy by now, and just dumb stuff. And she, how did you learn to write so well? He goes, "I worked for Burma Shave for 5 years." Now, this is something I want to cue in on again. Maybe if I barely touched it last time we were talking earlier, is that you can watch these movies and learn about history in these movies. Yeah. So, like Burma Shave, people don't know what the heck is Burma Shave. It's a shaving cream. They used to be having, on the highway, they had these little sayings on the billboards going down the highway so that you would piece together this phrase or saying. So the Marx Brothers they're dating themselves in the current history at that time, and then it helps you get an education of what was going on. Some of the things they talk about, duplicates, and they say, well, that's 6 kids up in Canada. That's from another one of their movies, I think, in the contract scene up there, in the Night of the Opera. So there's so much in these movies. It's not just comedy. Like I told you before, I also think that if I was a teacher of history or drama or acting, I would literally use those movies as like some kind of a history or to watch and to learn from, because there's so much in there that you can take away. Because I would have to stop and ask my mom about stuff about what they reference in these movies, and she would tell me. So I was enlightened through that way. So, wow, time.
yeah, we're running heavy on time, but we have 2 more Marx Brothers movies to break down.
2 more,
and the next one is after their break from MGM. One of the things I would say. Let's just go ahead and just talk about it. A Night in Casablanca, 1946, and this was far after they were done.
Yeah, this was a good one. Yeah, this was a good one because you know what was good, I think, and I liked it a lot, was that. So yeah, be careful. We have birds that are adding their 2 cents into our conversation here, just to say the least. It's like a Marx Brothers moment. Somebody's eavesdropping or
while we were recording, just to give you some background, while we were recording this,
pigeons.
Yeah, there was a pigeon right above us that decided to drop something right
by 2
cents. And I couldn't believe what I just saw. But in any case, yes,
we're being careful.
We're sitting here at the City Market in Kansas City, Missouri. Right
now. Beautiful place to do this, by the way. So A Night in Casablanca is actually a satire to the movie Casablanca.
Yes. Which I just covered, by the way.
Okay.
And so
which I find is great. It's okay because it's another movie set in wartime, and just after World War II's over, I guess.
Yes.
And they're still like dampening the harshness of war and all that, and kind of making fun of that. And so you got an old German, I guess, in the movie. They're stealing relics, and stuff like that. Pretty great film. I'm trying to remember a lot of the lines, but
this is the one with the bed switching scene too. Not Night Casablanca.
That's right. Okay, thank you for reminding me that. We're talking about that. And then I like the fact that like Harpo standing against a wall, and this cop says, "Hey, what are you doing standing here? You're trying to hold up the wall." He goes, He shook his head, and he goes, "Move away from there." And as soon as he pulls him away, the building falls.
Yes.
I was like, another great side
gag. Oh.
The ingenuity to think of stuff like that. And then they have to build a set that's going to fall as soon as somebody's pulled away from it, and really make it fun and look real and be safe at the same time. Buster Keaton, like when that building fell and he's in the window, just a perfect timing of it to fall in the right spot for him not to be smashed. Yes. So, but let me say something about the Marx Brothers. The only thing I felt there was a disadvantage to their career and I love one of my favorite comedies of all time, aside from any Marx Brothers movie, is It's a Mad World.
Oh, okay, yes.
The only group of people or anybody that never did a cameo in that movie, the Marx Brothers.
Yeah. Groucho was supposed to be in it.
Really, he was. Now, I did not know that. Okay.
Groucho was actually scheduled to be in that movie, and for some reason he bailed. I don't think they bailed. I think they wanted everybody they could get. I think they wanted all hands on deck in that movie.
But they did a really good job. I did see Charlie Chaplin, and I didn't see...
Charlie Chaplin wasn't in it, yeah.
No. And the Marx Brothers. But neither was Stan Laurel or Hardy. They weren't in it.
No, they were gone.
They were gone by then. Okay, so they really at least see... I have to hand
Three Stooges are in it.
Yeah. And, well, good Lord, Buster Keaton had a very small scene.
Yeah.
But he was in it.
His second to last film.
Yeah, when you mentioned him, I had to say, I don't like him that much, but I appreciated his effort in that movie. And knowing that he's kind of collaborated with the Marx Brothers, that was cool. Anything more about the Night
I don't agree
Casablanca?
about the not liking them.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
You can edit that part out.
Oh, no. I'm not editing it out. Yeah.
But
I just talked with the comedian, by the way, Paul Dillery, and this podcast show. It hasn't. Well, by the time you hear this, you will have heard that. And a guy named Paul Dillery, really, really fun comedian. He really adores Buster Keaton, and I told him I wanted to talk with him about it. But yeah, we all have our opinions.
Yeah.
But yeah, and one of the things I wanted to bring up about Night Casablanca, which is there was a little bit of controversy about the name because of the name Casablanca, and the Warner Brothers sued the Marx Brothers for the use of the term Casablanca.
Wow! Holy
and they were not happy with.
How come Casablanca didn't sue them?
And what Groucho's response was, I'm going to countersue the Warner Brothers for using the word brothers in their name.
I didn't know that. That's pretty good. That's creative.
And the lawsuit was thrown out as frivolous because it's a real
common name.
You can't just.
I love that.
It's like we're here in Kansas City. You can't have the term Kansas City and copyrighted. It's an actual.
It's a place,
yeah.
And they do that in the comics and everything else. That reminds me of what they did, and I love Mel Brooks too. Maybe do another day of Mel Brooks stuff, but I love what he did in Blazing Saddles. It's Hedley Lamar. And he goes, well,
yeah.
He said, it's 18-something, and we could sue her. Because she's trying to sue them for using her name in the movie.
Yes.
That's genuine, pure satire comedy when you can make fun of real life and get away with it.
I'm going to be covering...
And a big slap in the face to her, too. But,
I'm going to be covering Hedy Lamar
Hedley! No.
as a personal favor to one of my lifelong friends.
Really?
So,
wow.
Said, can you please do a podcast? And I said, do you want to be on it? He said, no, just do it. So, he's afraid to talk.
About Hedley or Hedley?
No, but he wanted me to do it on her. And I'll be talking about the Blazing Saddle stuff extensively with that.
So I guess you see where our comic, we like everything in comedy, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, but you're right about it's a mad world. They really wanted everybody. And by the way, there was a practical reason why Charlie Chaplin wasn't in it, because he was not. In the United
blacklisted.
States.
Wasn't he? Still
wasn't blacklisted. He was actually his visa was not extended when he left the U.S. to go to Europe.
This before or after his exoneration?
He never really had to be exonerated from anything, but the problem was since he was British, and there was talk that he was communist, and
he was for sure.
In fact, the thing is that he in some ways was a capitalist to the nth degree, because he died with a $40 million estate, and he really definitely wanted to have as much of his own money as he could find. But at the same time, he was an idealist, which sometimes those things don't mesh real well. But that was a funny part about Night in Casablanca, how they. But going back to Mad World, that's right. That was a practical reason why he. And that was as much as I love Charlie Chaplin, and I do.
Certainly do. And you know him and Groucho are friends,
I
right?
did 4 episodes on Charlie Chaplin.
Okay, cool. So you definitely knew that they were friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew they had met more than once.
Yeah, and they actually played tennis together. If you read Groucho's pictorial biography, it's a pictorial biography not by Groucho, but it's about him by his son and Frank Ferrante. They show them together quite often in some of the pictures there. They were kind of like family friends or what have you. I thought that was unique, and which is great. They collaborated, or they were friends or whatever behind the scene. Well, United and Cosmo, I'm stretching to remember everything from there, and I don't know what other one we need to cover.
The last one is Love Happy, and Love Happy
written by Harpo, which I think was great.
Yeah, and Harpo really is the star of this movie through and through. This really isn't a Marx Brothers movie; it's a Harpo Marx movie.
You think so? At least he allowed his brothers to be in it.
Groucho literally called in his performance in it. He was on the phone.
Oh, really?
Remember?
No, I didn't know that.
He does not have a scene with the brothers, and that breaks my heart.
He was just the
Just
orator
called on the phone.
Wow. So he was.
Yeah.
That's right. Come to think about it, you're right. Now that's one I recently watched, and you're
you
correct.
see his face, and he's talking on the phone, but he's
never with the
literally
brothers.
calling it in, phoning it in. And so, as I was saying earlier, I feel like Groucho was trying not as hard. I think he probably collected some money and was a little bored at that moment.
He went head over heels with
he truly
Marilyn
was.
Monroe in that movie. So
yeah.
Who wouldn't, right? I guess.
Yes, and Marilyn Monroe makes her
debut, I think, right?
Yeah, really, pretty much. Her debut. But I would call it a very minor role for her.
Yeah. Same with Lucy in the other one, in the room service.
Yeah, I'd say Lucy had a little bit more of a part, but Marilyn Monroe really wasn't much in Love Happy. But it's a really nice trivia question.
Yeah, certainly is.
But
that would be good to have like a
It's interesting
trivia.
to see like because I tend to divide up the 20th century movies. I think of guys we've talked about a little bit today. Obviously the Marx Brothers, Laurel and Hardy, Buster Keaton. I also think of Casablanca, and I think of Gone with the Wind, and I think of some other
Big
of the classics.
Yeah.
By
Well, can you imagine Marx Brothers being
MGM directors and Groucho? You were laughing, but Groucho actually wanted to play Rhett Butler.
No way.
I am not kidding.
As a serious
and Lucille
role?
Ball wanted to play Scarlett.
Oh my God!
This is
now
no
that's
joke.
Not
Now lots of people wanted to play those roles. But
wow, I did not know that. It would have been in a comedy then, or it would have. You couldn't take it seriously.
Here's the thing,
Maybe that's what it was.
I'm telling you right now, and as much as anyone will make fun of me, Groucho could have done it. Not that he would have looked as good as Rhett, but he looks an awful lot like him. If you think about
if he didn't have his Groucho makeup on,
yeah,
and he didn't betray that guy,
strip the mustache down a little.
Groucho, I did catch him. And funny we say this because I remember scenes where there's some touching moments where Groucho was not this harsh guy. That you see a tad bit of sensitivity in there. In one of the movies,
he could have dialed
that lady was crying, and he brought the letter to the lady. Remember?
Yeah.
And he's kind of like you saw him touch her a little bit, like, oh, it's okay. That was a moment I never saw in Groucho ever anywhere else.
Yes.
And I can't remember. I think it was at the.
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
The opera or whatever, one of those scenes.
Yeah.
But I thought, Groucho could probably do a straight man. I think a lot
really
of
could
good
have
comedians have done some scary straight roles. Yeah, we can mention some Robin Williams, whatever.
Yeah, you're right. Robin Williams was a brilliant actor.
Yeah,
he wasn't just a brilliant comic.
Yeah,
he was a brilliant actor.
Yeah,
and
I think that would only be the case. You can't be a good actor if you haven't been a good comedian.
I think it's just so funny that we talk about Groucho and we think of him talking to Scarlett but you have to put your 1938 frame mindset on, and then say, when the Marx Brothers were at somewhat of a crossroads, he could have branched away, had a career of his own, which he eventually did anyway.
Yeah.
With You Bet Your Life,
I heard he wanted to be a writer more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and, but
him.
I honestly think Groucho almost could have done anything, and
He's very versatile.
yeah, he really could have. And I think I think much like Charlie Chaplin, who by the way died the same year, I think much like Charlie Chaplin, it was like they had 87 years on this earth, and they felt and you can only do so much with 87 years. Shows you how short life is. When we condense these 13 films and we think they had a life before in vaudeville, and they had a life afterwards, which unfortunately, we'll wrap things up here in a minute. But again, let's talk a little bit about their lives afterward. Chico and Harpo were stuck in their personas.
Well, the Harpo, that was Chico's swan song, right? That movie.
Love Happy was
Love Happy, which was, I think, a great film. A lot of beautiful scenes in there. I love Groucho saying, when they were showing that guy dancing, he said he learned to dance like that fighting off bill collectors. I love those still Groucho lines. You wonder, is that really Harpo writing that? Or was that Groucho ad-libbing? You wonder how much was really just still Harpo. Maybe Harpo did the shell of the story, and then they still let Chico and Groucho still come in as who they were, because they still played those similar kind of characters in those movies. Chico's still the Italian guy, and I love some of the scenes in there. The interrogation scene with Chico, and just a lot of that stuff was really good. A lot of great scenes in that movie. I can't remember them all, but I still say that that's a good send off for any of them.
Yes,
it wasn't a bad movie. Now, I don't think any of their movies were bad. Saying why did they even make this? Now they said that about Story of Mankind, which never got fully finished. So, but you could tell that they were literally at their last breath in some respects, and they even their delivery seemed so stressed, and you could tell they were worn out at that point in time. So I'm glad they didn't finish it. In a way, I think when you go out with a bang, and then let it be. So I think the Marx Brothers really did it as their careers together. Then Groucho, of course, great stuff with him going into You Bet Your Life and doing that TV show. Some controversy behind that, saying it was scripted, which I don't want to believe it was. Groucho was too much of you could see it in his face, thinking, and ready for the next word to come out of his mouth, and I think he surprised himself.
I think he did.
But he even got caught off guard with some of the people. One of my favorite ones from his show was when he did he had a Baptist preacher on. A Baptist preacher told some jokes and just floored Groucho. Like, wow, like you stole my act here. And then even Groucho did some pretty good movies that are separate, one-offs, with other actors in other movies. I started collecting them, but they just weren't the same. When he did Success Spoil Rock Hunter, when he only had like one quick bit in the movie. And Mr. Music. Some of those I couldn't get into because they weren't related to anything Marx Brothers. It was just he was doing a cameo, and I hated having to go through the whole movie just to see a bit part like that, other than like what the Marvel movies do with Stan Lee. It's a different thing altogether. But anyway, there's my nod to the Marvel stuff. But I guess Chico, he tried to do his own orchestra at one time, and he used to joke to say it was a Count Basie orchestra. That was one of his last things he did.
The unfortunate thing now here's a question for you. This is really something to think about for a minute. The Groucho had a different scenario than Harpo and Chico in that he took his persona and was able to extend that through his TV show.
Yeah.
And it worked for him with the radio show and the TV show. And if you, by the way, this line is a little insidious, but it came from You Bet Your Life, and so it got past the censors. When he says to this guy, he says, hey, so how many children do you have?
Oh yes.
He said, 13 children.
Well, I smoke a cigar when I take it out once in a while.
He says, I love my wife. He says, "I love my wife," and Groucho's response is, "Well, I like my cigar, but I take it out of my mouth every once in a while." Oh, that's right. I mean,
Ooh, boy.
yeah, it was.
So that
Of
he's
the
so
scorcher.
quick-witted, they probably didn't catch that for a while.
That was a
I think
scorcher.
that's a great one.
Yeah.
And I thought that was in a movie, I didn't know that was related to his TV show. I thought it was
That was a TV show. Yeah,
something he said
TV
in
show.
an interview or something else.
Nope. If you YouTube it if you YouTube it on You Bet Your Life, I mean, there's gobs and gobs of.
And they had great
Groucho.
celebrities on there.
Oh,
a lot
yes.
of upcoming celebrities. Rocky Marciano was on there. Who else? There's a lot of celebrities.
Harpo appeared on the show once,
I
and
don't
so did
remember
Chico,
that.
I believe.
I don't remember that.
I believe. Yeah.
Oh, what's his name? I love him and Benny. Not Benny. Was it? What's his Rochester? And he had his own TV show.
Oh, Jack Benny. Yeah.
Jack Benny.
Yeah.
And Groucho were friends. And so Jack Benny did a bit with Groucho on his show, doing You Bet Your Life about telephony. He goes, "I can telephony. That's the secret word, telephony." It was actually telephone, but yeah. And I love that when Groucho was on his show. I like when they would mix company with other people. That's why I liked, Harpo going on Lucy. Chico, I don't think he did any extra stuff like that I've heard of.
No, he was on a couple of shows after. He was on a game show, and I forget which show it is. And I do believe he made an appearance on You Bet Your Life, I think once. I may be wrong.
Okay. And what about
but you can-
Zeppo? I read that he actually invented a watch that could read your heartbeat. He invented one.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I think that came through the Marx Brothers scrapbook or some other bit of information that may be unauthorized. But I think that's what I do remember clearly. That's another thing about him that we did not know.
And Zeppo was the youngest, and he was also the last one to go. He died in 1978, but Groucho died in 77, and tragically he died the same week Elvis died.
Oh, well, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so his death. I heard somebody describe his death Groucho's death like this. And in other news, comedian Groucho Marx died today. Now back to our continuing Elvis coverage.
Ouch. Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, it's just like
That's hurt.
it really does. And I've heard somebody, and I wish I could credit the person with it right now, but I can't remember who I heard. But he said that was the only time in his life he didn't have good timing.
Yeah, I think I heard that too. Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah. I mean, that was the thing when you talk about the Marx Brothers, when you talk about comedy, which, by the way, can I just say, with the Academy Awards, it's so silly sometimes because they discount comedy. Whereas, I guarantee you, if you ask someone like Robert De Niro, who's done heavy drama and also now weird comedies or funny comedies, have you ask him which one is harder, he would probably tell you comedy.
Yeah.
Because you have to have the timing.
But he did good in my favorite movie of Robert De Niro's, strange enough, anybody probably think, what? They probably never even heard of it, is King of Comedy with Jerry Lewis.
Oh, that's a good movie.
What a switch of roles. That's what I thought was
that's
really
a good
creative.
Movie.
And whoever wrote that was darn creative, picking those two actors and deciding to make Jerry Lewis a straight guy. Pretty much he was.
Yeah.
And then
playing like Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what he was.
Exactly. And then this guy, this nutcase of a guy, coming out of the blue, trying to be stealing the show, and he did literally in that movie. I thought that's my favorite role of Robert De Niro's.
Yeah, I highly recommend that movie. It's a little dark.
Yeah,
and if you expect Jerry Lewis to be in his
he wasn't. No. That's what the fun of that movie was.
Yeah.
That's almost a little bit what Robert De Niro did in a way.
A little bit, yeah.
But it's just I loved it.
Instead of like zany and loony, De Niro really was crazy in that movie.
He was a narcissistic.
He had a problem.
He had a problem. He was But that's one thing I like about that movie in Robert De Niro. But that probably goes to bring us back to Groucho can do a straight role. I think so. Jerry Lewis did a straight role.
Believe
me,
Jerry Lewis did that really well. I mean, very well. And but I would say, yeah, Groucho could have done the same thing. Never really got a chance, but I'm going with, yeah, he could have.
Yeah. Oh, thinking of in the wrapping up final career moments.
Yeah.
We're almost 2 hours into this. Wow.
Yeah. It's all right.
One thing I encourage people to get, and I don't know if I have my copy of it anymore. I used to have a big collection of Marx Brothers memorabilia, all kinds of things, T-shirts and all kinds of things I'd find at antique stores. One thing I bought at Street Side Records in Kansas City, which I wish I never would have got rid of. I would have probably sold on. They're no longer in existence.
Yeah, local.
But I wish I would have never sold, but maybe or got rid of, but sold on Amazon or eBay. Was I had the record of Groucho live at Carnegie Hall. Very good thing to listen to. Very beautiful.
Heard it. Yeah.
And probably have a DVD or digital version out there somewhere now. Or a CD. Aside from that, the Frank Ferrante, if you have ever seen or heard his act, you must. If you haven't, I like his stuff. He does well. He doesn't 100% look like Groucho, but you got to see beyond that. He portrays him.
He pulls it off.
He still pulls it off, even though he doesn't look 100% like him.
He pulls it off very well.
Yes,
very well. Want him to come on my show.
And I hope he does. That'd be cool. And then, I had this poster. I never forget this poster I bought. I can't remember where I bought it, but it was the Marx Brothers, and just the three of them. They were hanging on a clothes rack. They're all inside their coats, hanging on the hanger, and it looked so funny. All of them hanging there. I sold all that stuff to take some money to Africa to marry my wife. So, unfortunately, that stuff was gone. But it was money well spent. So, nonetheless, I sold it to a guy who's a collector. Mm-hmm. But I'm just telling you, there's things out there that people need to get their hands on. That people need to, I wouldn't say technically buy, but I think it would be good that people would really invest in. If they want to laugh, they want to get into a bit of history with comedy. See the I would say want to say the bedrock or the what they call it, not the basement, but what's the other word, the foundation of American comedy. Look at some of these people like the Marx Brothers.
And we'll wrap it up. And let me ask you this, just off the top of your head, if someone were listening to this and they haven't watched a Marx Brothers movie, bless their hearts, by the way, if they're still listening after 2 hours and never having seen a Marx Brothers movie, they must really like me. But or you, so tell me, Jeff.
What do you mean? We made all this stuff up. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. What movie? What three movies would you recommend most to somebody who's never watched a Marx Brothers movie? Keep in mind, you want them to stay in the game. And if you send them to Horse Feathers, and you send them to Duck Soup, and you send them to the Monkey Business, then you're going to be sending them to their best, and they're going to expect the best every time.
Well, you pretty much nailed it. So I'd say the top three, starting with number one, would be Duck Soup. See that one first. Then I would say Go West, number two.
Okay.
Number three. It's funny that we're talking about this now because, see, they covered a lot of genres. Like, well, then I'll have to pick one of the opera movies because there's two opera movies. I would say Night of the Opera, probably. That would be number three.
Not a bad one to see for I.
So, why say that? Because, see, again, as a whole of their movies, they went to wartime, do a wartime thing. Then they did what I say, a Wild West movie. Mm-hmm. So they weren't afraid to cover all the bases. So go ahead. Sorry.
Casablanca. No, I would probably say I really probably would say go see. I really probably say go see.
Number
Night
one
at the Opera, probably first.
Wow.
I'm not saying that's not my favorite. I would send someone to Night at the Opera first. Send them there or send them to at the circus. Because after seeing those two movies...
Is that High C or Vitamin D? That's one of the lines in that movie.
Yes. But after you see those two movies and you're impressed, you're really going to be impressed with Horse Feathers.
Okay, so you're being nice to the audience. You don't want to blow them out of the water with Duck Soup. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're holding You don't want to blast them
save some
away.
of the best for
okay.
Like I would not recommend going backwards to forwards. Like I'm not saying don't watch Love Happy first. Watch Love Happy last.
Yeah, if you're going to pick one last, maybe so, or even the Coconuts.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You know, that's not to say that the Coconuts is their 12th best film, because it's not. It's high up there.
It's hard
but
you can't rank them that easy. Yeah,
it's grainy, and the music is a little bit
muffled.
Muffled and less likable. And so you'll love the Coconuts if you've already into the Marx Brothers.
Yeah.
But you gotta ease into the situation.
It's probably saying, "Hey, pick your favorite child and why." You can't do that. It's not even fair to even assess something like that.
Now I did take the time to rate the movies, and
oh wow,
and I rated Duck Soup number 1, and I rated Monkey Business number 2, and I rated Horse Feathers number 3, and I feel like there is just such a thin difference between number 1 and number 2, and number 2 and number 3. It's
so if the Marx Brothers did their final film, the last one should have been Duck Soup. If you wanted to say that was it, they splattered against the wall, it's over. That would be Duck Soup.
If you want to say going out on top, Duck Soup was really the pinnacle. And the A Night at the Opera, in my opinion, is a great film. Unfortunately, it signifies. But I'm obviously. Duck Soup, is the pinnacle, and then Eye of the Opera is still a great film, in my opinion, but it just signifies like the beginning of an end, and where they started to the same way Buster Keaton and the same way Laurel and Hardy kind of started deteriorate. The quality started to deteriorate. It doesn't mean that there was no quality there. It just means that there was a little bit less of greatness in each film. But there was a glimmer of greatness in each and every one. And I would recommend watching all 13 films to
I agree.
anybody.
Thoroughly. They have to. If they want
watch Love Happy last, though.
If they want, Love Happy was their last film.
And so I would say watch the Big Store second to last, or maybe the Coconuts. But don't save the animal crackers for last, though.
No,
and this is, by the way, really hardcore Marx Brothers fans would put really hardcore ones put animal crackers above the other three that I mentioned. I think there's razor thin difference between those four films.
And I think to me, I think I'm a diehard fan, so I would still watch them in sequence of year that they were put out, just to track their history as they developed and as they crescendoed into their end. It was a nice, I would say, Love Happy was like a perfect ending for them. And knowing that a Marx Brothers finally got their chance to really do a movie of their own. What I mean is that Harbaugh wrote this thing. He directed to, I guess, or something close to it. Anyway, what I'm just saying is that knowing that that was like a little exclamation point at the end. It's over, or maybe not even an exclamation point. It was just they drew a line. That was it. Underscored it. We're done. We love you. Bye-bye. And I like that.
Hello, I must be going.
Yeah. They didn't make it like the Marvel movies. There's a continuing story, unfortunately. But I don't think they ever could have back then, maybe in some ways. But knowing that they just did what they did, and they obviously looked like they had fun doing it. To me, it was genuine. It was real. That's all I can say. It made me laugh. I'll keep laughing. I'll pass these on to my kids.
Well, I on that, I think we will wrap, and want to thank you very much, Mr. Jeff Kofi Studler.
Thank you
for appearing on the show.
Appearing? I didn't appear. I've only been heard. Okay.
Well, for about 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Showing up.
You've allowed me 2 minutes. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Ouch.
No, just kidding. No, I really appreciate you.
That's great. I'm glad to be doing this. This is fun. If we do it again, that'd be great.
Jeff Studler we'll definitely do it again.
God bless.
So that was Jeff Studler, and really appreciate him lending his knowledge to the podcast. Really appreciate him appearing on the program. And the Marx Brothers, we've already detailed it. They are, and I think, a real outstanding addition to anyone's film library. Those movies are just really great. And I would say particularly the Paramounts. Go out and watch the early ones that they did. Go watch Monkey Business and watch Duck Soup and Horse Feathers, and also the Coconuts. And those are just such great movies. And the Marx Brothers encompassed so much when it comes to comedy, and really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects, the Marx Brothers. And I want to apologize for any of the weird interruptions. Jeff and I actually had two venues that we recorded this at. We were in a parking lot. After we had lunch, we determined that the restaurant was a little too loud that we were at, and so we went in the parking lot, and so we ended up in a Walmart parking lot, and we were also at a City Market in Kansas City, Missouri. As we finished, so we drove from one place to the other and finished it. So the bird droppings, I apologize for. I just couldn't believe that happened. And also any of the other interruptions that you might have heard, car doors or horns or motorcycles. But it was fun doing this with Jeff, and I really do appreciate him. And he does have the same passion for the Marx Brothers that I do, and which is a lot. And if you haven't seen any of the Marx Brothers movies, please go watch one of those movies now. I would say start with A Night at the Opera or Day at the Races, and then go to the Paramount ones, and go to the ones I mentioned earlier: Monkey Business, Horse Feathers, or Duck Soup. And go watch one of those after that, and you'll start to fall in love with these guys. They were just great. Well, thank you so much for everybody for sticking around for 2 hours. This is Cinema Chat, and this is the podcast where we talk about the movies and the people that made them. I've been talking with Jeff Studler. Hello, I must be going. I cannot stay. I came to say I must be going. I'm glad I came, but just to say I must be going.